So, what if I told you that in a world that is, completely obsessed with viral internet hype, a cutting-edge AI just proved something kind of crazy?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it proved that predicting when people buy a washer-dryer is 1,400% more effective than predicting the biggest video game leak of the year.
Wow. I mean, it sounds almost completely counterintuitive when you put it like that.
Right.
Because we are so conditioned to think that human attention is just entirely driven by the loudest, the most chaotic events on our screens.
Exactly. And that is the exact assumption we are tearing apart today. So welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are stepping into what feels like, well, a quiet, high-tech observation deck today to look at a really fascinating intelligence briefing.
Yeah, it really is a unique setup.
And I want to set the tone early. Think of this less like checking a chaotic stock market floor and more like deploying deep-sea buoys to track massive invisible ocean currents.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Thanks. And I want to be incredibly clear up front for you listening. We aren't here to give financial advice or, tell you what to buy.
No, absolutely not.
This is purely an observation log. We are just mapping the invisible currents of human attention.
Right, and the specific field we're looking at is called behavioral kinetics.
Behavioral kinetics.
Yeah, it's the dynamics of human attention and action. So we have our hands on a data set from June 9, 2026.
Just generated.
Exactly, by a group known as Team AI Lab. And they've set up this closed simulation in the Japanese market.
Okay, and what exactly are they tracking?
They want to track exactly how specific concepts or ideas and keywords propagate through the cultural landscape. And they do this over a strict 10-day window.
Got it. And to make this simulation work, Team AI Lab essentially built two competing algorithms, right?
Yeah, two totally different models.
Each with a completely different worldview. And they just threw them into the arena to fight it out.
It is a phenomenal clash of strategic philosophies, honestly. On one side, you have Team Rhino Titans.
Rhino Titans, okay.
And their foundational logic is built on something called structural stillness.
Structural stillness, that sounds very rigid.
It is. They
Right.
completely ignore the sudden flashes of lightning on social media. They just don't care. Instead, they hunt for predictable, foundational shifts in market equilibrium.
So they're looking at the architecture of daily life.
Yes. Seasonal routines,
Yeah.
structural habits, the quiet, kind of mundane things people are simply forced to do by their environment.
Okay, then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the other team, Team Falcon Arrows.
Right.
And their algorithm is hunting for kinetic propagation.
They wanted lightning.
They want the lightning, right. They're
Yeah.
trying to ride the volatile, explosive waves of community-driven hype.
Sudden social issues, viral contagion, all of that.
Yeah, so if Rhino assumes humans are creatures of habit, Falcon assumes human attention is an electric current that just jumps from one hyper-focused panic or obsession to the next.
Exactly. And to really understand this philosophical collision, we have to look at the telemetry data across three distinct stages of their operations.
Okay, let's break those stages down.
So we need to look at the seeds they just dropped into the market today. Then, the concepts that are currently surviving the mid-flight turbulence of the simulation.
Right.
And finally, the harsh reality of the final 10-day completed missions.
Let's start with those new seeds then. The data calls these the new deployments.
Fresh into the arena.
Yeah, fresh keywords injected at 0-hour UTC for the upcoming 10-day evaluation. So, Team Rhino Titans are masters of structural stillness. They selected the Japanese keyword Sentaku Kansuki.
Washer dryer.
Washer dryer,
Yeah.
a major household electronic appliance.
Yep.
I'm genuinely struggling to see the brilliance here, I have to be honest.
You think it's too boring?
Well, yeah, isn't Rhino's approach almost completely brain dead? It feels like writing a highly advanced algorithm just to predict that people will buy umbrellas when it rains.
Right.
I mean, can a sophisticated AI actually win by being that obvious? Where is the deep insight in picking a home appliance?
Well, the insight is precisely in its inevitability.
Inevitability, yeah.
Let's look at the actual mechanism of structural stillness in the context of the Japanese market in early June.
Okay, early June. What happened?
As late June approaches, the archipelago is hit by Tsuyu, the rainy season.
Oh, right. The rainy season.
It is a massive, unavoidable meteorological event. Humidity spikes dramatically. And balconies, which are, the primary way people dry clothes in Japan,
Meh.
they suddenly become completely useless for weeks.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a trend, it's a forced behavioral shift.
Exactly.
The environment actually dictates the attention.
People start dealing with damp clothes, mold anxiety, sudden inconvenience. And this drives a massive structural demand for drying solutions.
So the algorithm isn't just taking a wild guess.
No, it is tracking the exact historical moment when millions of households abandon the balcony.
They give up on the weather.
Yes. And they start querying replacement cycles, power consumption comparisons, and feature reviews for new washer-dryer units. It's an unstoppable tidal force of daily human need.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense when you explain it like that. It's a heavy, slow-moving current.
A very strong current.
But let's look at what Team Falcon is deployed to fight that. Because remember, they are hunting for kinetic propagation.
Right, the hype wave.
Their new deployment is Persona 6.
The video game.
Yeah, I know that's a highly anticipated game, but why would a trend intelligence algorithm choose an unreleased game over, say, I don't know, a major movie premiere or a huge political event?
It's because of the specific kinetic energy generated by its community. The Persona series, developed by Atlas, doesn't just have casual fans.
Right, gaming fans are intense.
It has an ecosystem of theorists and highly active digital communities. Falcon's algorithm flagged this keyword because it detected a surge in momentum following some recent conceptual leaks.
So the algorithm is basically smelling blood in the water.
It smells visceral reaction. A leak in a community like that creates immediate, intense heat. People rush to forums.
They dissect every blurry image.
Exactly. They argue on social media. Falcon is betting that this sudden burst of intense heat will act as a viral contagion.
Spreading beyond just the core fan base.
Right, and dominating the trend landscape for the next 10 days.
Wait, before we look at how these actually perform, a quick question.
Sure.
When the data mentions these keywords gaining or losing heat, what exactly is this AI measuring? Are we just talking about how many times a word is typed into a search engine?
Oh, no, it is much deeper than simple search volume. Team AI Lab uses a composite index of heat.
A composite index, okay.
The algorithm measures search velocity, so how fast a term is accelerating.
Got it.
But it combines that with the density of conversations on social media platforms and the aggregation of related news articles.
That's a lot of data points.
It even tracks the sentiment in niche community forums. So when we see a percentage increase or decrease, it represents the actual kinetic energy of that topic compared to the baseline prediction.
Okay, that is crucial context. Because deploying a keyword on day one is the easy part. The real test is what happens when these mathematical predictions actually collide with human unpredictability midweek.
That's where it gets really interesting.
So let's move from the new seeds to the active missions.
Right, these are the keywords deployed days ago that are currently navigating the turbulence of the 10-day tracking window.
And we're looking for the adapters here.
Exactly, the signals that are managing to survive the noise of the Japanese market right now.
Okay, so for Rhino Titans, their primary active signal is Kobanushi Sukai, which translates to shareholders meeting.
A very corporate term.
Very corporate. It falls into the finance category. And looking at the data, it is currently tracking at an average of plus 13.3%.
A huge gain.
Yeah, that feels incredibly strong for a topic that dry.
It is remarkably strong. And it perfectly illustrates the gravity of the corporate calendar.
Big gravity.
Yes. In Japan, June is historically the month when the vast majority of publicly traded companies hold their annual shareholders meetings.
Oh, I see.
The notices are mailed out, proxy voting deadlines approach, and investors are actively searching for venue locations and corporate reports.
So no matter what trending celebrity gossip or, viral news stories happening on social media, those meetings are still happening.
Exactly. The noise of the market is chaotic, but the underlying structural events act like gravity. They inevitably pull human attention back down to earth.
That is fascinating.
Rhino's algorithm accurately weighed the mass of this corporate calendar cycle. This unit is like a lighthouse in the dark. It proves that structural logic can slice right through daily volatility.
A lighthouse in the dark, I like that. The structural events really do have gravity. But now let's contrast that gravity with the struggle we are seeing from Falcon Arrow's active signal.
Oh, the Falcon struggle.
Yeah, their primary keyword fighting through the midweek turbulence is Titan blackout.
A social issue keyword.
Right. And it is currently tracking at an average of minus 2.5%. It's actually losing heat.
Falcon attempted to predict a kinetic cascade of public anxiety. Japan is obviously prone to natural disasters, and power grid anxiety can flare up rapidly, especially as summer approaches.
So the algorithm likely detected a localized incident maybe, or a sensational news report.
Most likely.
Yeah.
And it bet on the social contagion of fear.
It bet that people would start panic searching for flashlights and grid updates, but the data shows the panic just evaporated.
The grid held. No further incidents occurred to fuel the narrative, and without that continuous fuel, the kinetic energy of panic burns out incredibly fast.
If I'm visualizing this, it's like Rhino caught a scheduled train. It might be a boring commute, but that train is on the financial calendar and it always arrives at the station.
I love that analogy.
And Falcon. They tried to hail a rogue taxi based on a sudden flare-up of social panic, and the taxi just completely bypassed them.
That is perfectly said. The kinetic energy of a social issue is seductive to an algorithm because of its steep trajectory, but its lifespan is dangerously fragile.
Which brings us to the most shocking part of this intelligence briefing.
The final results.
Yeah. We've seen the seeds, we've seen the mid-flight turbulence, now we have to look at the final stage, the mission completed reports.
This is where the 10-day cycle closes.
This is where predictions meet the unforgiving reality of the market. And the return reports reveal a dramatic divergence from expectations for both teams.
It was a very turbulent week.
Let me read these final numbers because they genuinely threw me off. Rhino's pick for this completed 10-day cycle was Mugicha, barley sheet, and it finished at minus 11.0%. Meanwhile, Falcon's pick was All-Star Fan Tohyo, All-Star Fan voting,
A sports keyword.
and it crashed to an abysmal minus 66.1%.
Both philosophies took significant hits here.
I am honestly stuck on the Rhino result. Barley tea. In Japan. In June.
I know it seems weird.
Mugicha is essentially the lifeblood of a Japanese summer. It is stocked in every refrigerator, every vending machine, every convenience store.
It is everywhere.
It should be the ultimate gravity-bound structural win. If something that deeply embedded in the cultural architecture drops 11%, well, what does that tell us?
It's a big question.
Did the rules of the market completely shift over a single week?
This is where we must strictly enforce our stance as an observation log.
Okay, enforce away.
In financial trading, an 11% drop on a sure thing is a disaster. But for Team AI Lab, mapping behavioral kinetics, these are recorded as losses, yes, but they're absolutely not defeats.
It's hard not to see minus 66% as a massive defeat, though.
I get that, but we have to view this through a pure research perspective. When a deeply structural, historically guaranteed keyword like barley tea drops 11%, the algorithm isn't broken.
It's not.
No, the algorithm just discovered a rapid shift in the rules of the arena.
So the landscape itself basically morphed beneath the prediction.
Exactly. Perhaps an unseasonal cold snap, what they sometimes call suyu-samu, temporarily suppressed the desire for chilled summer drinks.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or perhaps a sudden, massive trend in flavored carbonated waters completely hijacked that specific demographic's attention for the week.
A competitor swooped in.
And whatever the catalyst, it was a sudden environmental transformation that swallowed the existing logic.
It's almost like the AI touched a hot stove. It burns, sure, the heat index drops to minus 11%. But now the intelligence network has perfectly mapped exactly where that store is for the next cycle.
That is the perfect analogy. Every time a keyword fails, the network learns the new topography of human unpredictability.
That is a fascinating way to frame it.
And we apply that same logic to Falcon's massive 66.1% drop on All-Star fan voting.
They anticipated a massive wave of sports fans rallying online, and it just completely flatlined.
The reality of the Japanese trend environment crushed the momentum. Perhaps the fans were distracted by a different controversy. Or maybe the voting mechanism itself failed to spark the usual tribal debates.
So the network just absorbs this failure.
Yes, it absorbs it, recalibrates the weight of sports hype in the current climate, and evolves its kinetic models. It strips the emotion out of being wrong and turns it into pure topographical data.
Which gives us the perfect transition to zoom out and look at the macro picture. We have this topographical data, we have the season standings.
It's a big reveal.
Yeah. When we look at the total aggregate performance of these two philosophies over the entire simulation, the gap is staggering.
Team Rhino Titans, relying entirely on structural stillness, sit at a total aggregate performance of plus 1,400.7%.
Over 1,400%. And Team Falcon Arrows, chasing kinetic propagation, are drowning at minus 206.1%.
It is a complete dominance by the structural approach.
I want to really dig into the psychology of this, actually, because it feels like a personal wake-up call.
How so?
We live in a world completely saturated with viral noise. Every time we open our phones, it's endless scrolling, sudden outrage, lightning-fast hype cycles. We feel like the world is moving at a million miles an hour.
It certainly feels that way.
Yet, this advanced AI just proved that the real, measurable, lasting momentum is found in the foundational, boring routines of daily life.
It exposes a massive blind spot in how we perceive our own behavior. Humans suffer from an availability heuristic.
We remember the loud things.
Exactly. We remember the kinetic moments, we remember the shock of a video game leak, or the sudden anxiety of a power grid news story, because those events spike our adrenaline.
They feel huge in the moment.
But our aggregate behavior, the massive ocean currents we talked about at the start, is still dictated by the physical and societal architecture around us.
The changing of the seasons.
Yes. The humidity rising, the corporate calendars turning. The architecture of daily life completely overpowers the algorithm of outrage.
So the washer dryers and the shareholders meetings quietly dictate where our energy actually goes while we are just distracted by the shiny objects.
That's what the data shows.
Falcon's strategy of chasing the kinetic wave is failing because the lifespan of modern hype is getting shorter, more fragmented, and honestly, increasingly hollow.
While Rhino's strategy dominates because the physical realities of existence, like needing dry clothes during the rainy season, do not change based on what happens to be trending online today.
The noise is incredibly loud, but the underlying structure is ironclad.
Exactly.
What an incredible journey through the data today. We stepped into the observation deck of Team AI Lab to track how ideas actually move through the Japanese cultural landscape.
It's been a great simulation to observe.
We watched the new deployments drop into the arena, pitting the mundane certainty of a washer-dryer against the visceral hype of a Persona 6 leak.
We navigated the active mid-flight turbulence. We watched the gravity of a corporate shareholders meeting pull attention predictably inward, while the kinetic panic of a blackout simply evaporated without fuel.
And finally, we face the brutal reality check of the mission-completed reports, where we learn that even a cultural staple like barley tea can get swallowed by the shifting rules of the market.
But again, in the pursuit of behavioral kinetics, the AI touching the hot stove isn't a defeat. It is the very mechanism of learning.
Right. And right now, the network has learned that the current heavily favors our quiet routines over our loud hype, to the tune of a 1,400% victory for Team Rhino.
It serves as a brilliant, data-driven reminder that behind every percentage point, behind every composite index of heat, is a human being making a choice fundamentally constrained by their environment.
It really makes you evaluate your own daily attention, doesn't it?
It definitely does.
If Team AI Lab were running an algorithm on your life this week, well, how much of your cognitive bandwidth is being manipulated by that kinetic hype?
The endless notifications.
The digital outrage, the fleeting trends, and how much of your behavior is actually just driven by those quiet structural necessities, the changing weather, the mandatory meetings, the fundamental architecture of your routine.
We like to think of ourselves as highly unpredictable, free-thinking individuals, but the data suggests we are deeply tethered to our environmental gravity.
We've been analyzing these algorithms today purely as observers, standing on the deck, tracking the deep-sea buoys of human attention. But I want to leave you with a lingering thought that builds on everything this intelligence briefing revealed.
That's it.
As these AI models get better and better at mapping our exact seasonal desires, as they map the hot stoves of our unpredictability, and as they perfectly dissect the gravity of our routines, at what point do they stop merely predicting our human attention and start directing it?